One Friday Fights 83 took place 18th of October, Doctor to South African time. The headliner was Panrit versus Superball in a mega fight. And Superball came up short, unfortunately, but Panrit, the megastar, is looking fantastic. Watch myself and my guy Babu break down this, recap this fantastic card, excuse me, in this week's Fighting with Friends. Welcome back to the CPS Reports. It's your boy, Brother Kaya, back with another fight reaction of One Championship Friday Fights 83. With me, reacting to this amazing fight card is none other than my guy, Babu. How's it going, broski?
Lekker man, Rasa, lekker man. You're gassed
Nice.
after that card, but I gassed after that card.
Absolutely. You were losing your shit in the group chats. That's how excited the
No,
fights were.
bro, had
Yeah,
me,
well, I
had
mean,
me.
let's go straight into it then. Since the excitement is still carrying over to the following day, we are going to start with the main event. Like I said, we saw Panrit taking on Superball. Let me just pull that up on the screen there for you, ladies and gentlemen. And the fight went only 2 rounds. I know in the preview that both of us were leaning towards Superball because he was the taller fighter. He's very creative, and I mean, there was moments in the fight where he had a little bit of sort of leeway in the clinching, but only in the clinching really. But when they were out in the open and hands were thrown, Pandit had the better in the exchanges. He obviously won the fight in the second round with the overhand right, knocking Super Bowl, completely putting him to sleep. Babu, give me your reaction and thoughts on this amazing main event.
I think like off the preview, um,
Mm,
I thought Super Bowl would have a better game plan, especially being the longer fighter, and
yeah.
maybe like just like I said in the preview, I would think Super Bowl just wanted to disrupt like the rhythm of Panrit, but Panrit was he just
Yeah.
seemed to have a better game plan on the night. He knew how
Mm,
to get close. He knew how to get into striking range.
yeah.
That the void that you speak about in fighting. He was
Hmm.
constantly in and out of that void, and even when he was in the clinch, he looked
Mm,
stronger
yeah.
in how he was moving in the clinch, where Super Bowl was landing in the clinch, but it just
Mm,
seemed like Panrit had the either he had the underhooks very nicely or the overhooks,
yeah.
and you could move Super Bowl how you wanted to. And I think when you're in that clinches, it does take a lot out of you because your arms is in there and like somebody just squeezing that on you. And as much as you want to throw knees and everything, like at the
Yeah.
end of the day, like it is fighting and it is Muay Thai, and you have to have like certain combinations that you put together, and you can't
Yeah.
always just rely on super leg kicks. You know what I mean? Because I think he's the only fighter that I've seen so far. Like if you take his arms out of it, there's still a high
Yeah.
chance of you getting absolutely
Yeah.
blasted. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. I think Pandit was the faster fighter. I think from the first minute he landed like in two low kicks, but very hard low kicks, and they were sharp and they were quick. And I thought Super Bowl was already his reaction to those low kicks indicated to me that he wasn't prepared for that. I thought that,
Mm,
like yourself, I thought he was going to use his length a bit better, maybe tip a lot more to sort of manage that distance.
mm,
But Pandit already closed that distance down with the low kicks, and he looked stronger when he landed body shots. It looked like it had a better effect. And Super Bowl never really got back into the fight from there. And like you say, like although Super Bowl looked a little bit not better, he looked safer in the clinch. It looked like he was going to survive more once he was in the clinch. But didn't stay in the clinch long enough for Super Bowl to sort of let the work go. Let his elbows go. Because the moment they clinched up, I think it was like not even like 3 seconds into it, and Pandit really got out of it and then started, wailing on him. And I think it was in the first round he landed a left hook. Yeah, a left hook that pretty much dropped Super Bowl. And you could see he was like, oh, he was dazed because he took the whole 8 count to come back out of it. And I thought, oh, he looks a bit shook it there. And then obviously in the second round, within 53 seconds, Pandit just went in and threw an overnight and slept him. But I think what I really want to highlight and also sort of get your thoughts on this was I knew Pandit was on a 3 fight winning streak coming into this fight, but they all were by unanimous decision. So I was keen to see if he had a finish in him, right? But I think surprised me the most about Panrit wasn't necessarily the interim featherweight champion right now in his corner. He's fighting out of Superbond's gym, as well as Nong O. Did you see Nong O was standing in the crowd there and he went to go and hang Nong O? So what I was trying to highlight here, get your thoughts on is Panrit going to be, I know I said almost mega superstar in the build up, but like I mentioned that because I felt that he's got mega superstars in his corner or in his back or in his locker room. Do you think that that's going to eventually catapult Panrit into being a very household name in the one championship?
I think it definitely should. Um, it might hinder him in the sense of his career. Because you're gonna be like, I'm so close to certain people. Do I really
Mm,
want to go and challenge?
mm,
Um, but then I do think that in terms of like superstardom, I think it does help when you have people that have already that are champions. They
yeah,
advise you on what fights to take. They advise you on what route to take and what would be best for your career.
yeah,
And you constantly grow from that. And I mean, like having superstars in your corner, having superstars at your gym, it just
mm,
helps you get better consistently.
absolutely.
Because how many times do you not see like people that gym with champions become
Mm,
champions?
mm,
Because before they become that champion, you have that mindset. You see
yeah,
what it is to become a champion, and
mm,
I think that does play a part in your mentality. And
yeah,
if you keep pairing that with performances like he has done, and I mean, you and I both in the preview we looked at it and we're like, maybe this goes like the full distance of
mm,
three rounds. But to
mm,
see that intensity, especially after that first round, coming out in the second with a killer mentality and a finishing mentality, does put your name in there to say like, hey, like I can finish people, and the people that I don't finish, they are
yes,
they are warriors. They are tough, and
yeah,
it's not
yeah,
me taking a step back or me not being able to put them away. It's just sometimes you just run up against that people that's made of that metal.
yeah. Completely agree. I think it's very beneficial for him, and considering that he's only 27 years old as well, I do think he's hitting that plateau in his life now where this is what it means to fight to I'm now reaching that level of I'm going to compete against champions next, and that's going to be my question out for the viewers out there as well. Let us know in the comments, what do you think the future looks like for Panrit? I mean, he did get the bonus on this fight card for that finish, and now what does it mean next? Who do you think should be the next caliber type of opponent for my guy Panrit going forward? Because I think that's a very good, a very what's the word? It's a kind of a statement kind of victory over someone like Superball for sure. Because like Superball is a champion outside of this organization, so beating someone like that has definitely put a stamp or a statement for this division. Although it's only catchweight, that's slightly heavier than the featherweight guys, but I mean, you can easily make that weight for sure and
Mm,
compete in that division. And obviously, like we know, Tawanja is the champion currently, and Superbond's going to be fighting him soon. Soon, I think it's either November or it's January. They're going to be competing. That's January. They're going to be fighting in January. So I look forward to
yeah,
that.
I think I saw it yesterday. They did the ad for the January
Yes,
card.
it's January now. Yeah, I think they're competing in
Mm,
January. But anyway, let's keep it moving here, Babu. We saw the co-main event. Biaka took on Pet Vichit in a catchweight Muay Thai bout, 138 pounds, and this fight went to a split decision. And it was very much back and forth. I thought Biaka was going to be the one that's going to be overwhelmingly favored in this fight. He did stand there, but I think Pet Vichit definitely put on a performance to make it a worthy a split decision because it wasn't unanimous in my eyes. I thought it was fairly even. I had the first round going to Pit Vichit, and then I had the second round going to Pacquiao. I actually scored the third round to Pit Vichit as well, but I mean they gave it to Pacquiao narrowly, giving it to him. Give me your thoughts on this fight, Robert, because I personally didn't think that Pacquiao did enough. But I want to hear what you have to
um,
say.
uh, I'm actually on the other side because I thought Pacquiao was in that third round. He looked like the more I wouldn't say like he was dominating in that third round, but all his combinations was landing much cleaner than Pit shit. And I think like in that, I do believe that this fight was hella entertaining just because from a pace and output standpoint. Because
Yeah,
from the get go, I was like,
yeah,
yo, I actually thought Pacquiao was gonna overwhelming with the amount of like volume that he was throwing and like the how,
yeah.
how he was putting that constant pressure on him. But in that second, I did think Petwicek came forward and showed like, oh, okay, cool. Like it almost gave me like a veteran like type of mindset where he was like, oh, okay, cool. Like I wanted to see what you have in store for me, and now that I know, because he was landing better in the second round because he could almost like see, oh, okay, this kick is coming. Okay, you're trying to set me up in this corner. He kept moving and he kept navigating well. And while he was doing that, he was landing his own strikes. So and in the third, it was a back and forth, and I do think the
Yeah,
split was the right call, yeah,
yeah,
because like as you can see, we both watched the fight and we thought like we saw things differently. I just
yeah.
thought from the third round perspective, Bakchow was landing a bit cleaner, and that was more appeasing on the eye to see like,
Yes.
oh, okay, yeah. But I mean, like if you're looking at from a more um, magnified spec. Like Petwichet landed a lot more volume in that third round.
Yes, yes. I look. That's what I was gonna actually agree with. There was because the way I looked at it was that in the first round, I thought the pace was set by Pickford for sure. I thought he actually put the pace on Pacquiao in the first round, and then in the second round, I thought it was significantly turned to the other way around because Pacquiao was clinching quite a bit, and he was actually dominating that clinch. He also utilized quite a bit of that Muay Thai trips. Like he was dunking Pickford quite a few times, and I thought, hey, this and you could see Petrucci was actually fading because of that. Like he actually looked like he had less pop on his strikes, although he was still keeping up the volume. It didn't have the same kind of vuma or punch to it the way it did in the first round. Because Pacquiao looked like he was perfectly fine, but I looked like he was actually dealing with it okay. And then in the third round, this is where I agree with you. I think in the third round, I thought Petrucci was high volume, but he wasn't actually clean with it. It didn't land cleanly on Pacquiao. I think Pacquiao actually, although he was on the back foot in the third round, he was able to navigate and almost deflect a lot of the shots that was coming towards him. And I thought, oh, this guy's in the matrix because he was just evading a lot of it. And then he even landed a few dunks again in that third round where he kept on tripping. I think that's what actually won him the fight. Because like I said on my scorecard, I actually gave round one and round three to Petr, but rewatching it, and the only reason why I gave it to him was because I thought he was pushing the pace, he was going forward, and he had Pacquiao on the back foot. And I always score the fighter going backwards less than the fighter that's going forward. However, if the one that's going forward isn't really landing while going forward, do you still give him the points? And that's what made me rethink my scorecard in this scorecard for this fight because I was like, even though Petr was going forward, he wasn't actually clean. You know what I mean? Pacquiao was a lot cleaner with his strikes, even though he landed less. He was cleaner, and that's probably why they gave the fight to him as a petition. But really well deserved win, and looking forward to these young lads again in the one championship because they hella exciting to watch. Hella exciting to watch.
Definitely, definitely.
But Babu, let's keep it moving, broski. So the next fight that we're going to be talking about, my mouse is fighting me, which I thought was a bit cringe to watch. Yeah, it was quite difficult to watch because not cringe in a way that's like it's displeasing, but cringe in the sense that of like, even my legs are feeling like they're gonna fall apart. Song Fang Kong took on Pet Sinin, and I remember in the preview you and I were talking about this fight, and we didn't highlight Pet Sinin that much just because it is a debut fight in the one championship, so we didn't really get to see much of the young lad. But this fight went unanimous decision, and by God's grace, it went that way because any other fighter would have folded after that second round because the amount of leg kicks that were thrown from Petsinin, you could see that he actually knocked him down, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
He was,
he
he was
kicked him off his feet.
just this, kicked him off his feet, right? Forward pressure, right hand, strong low kicks. Yes, strong jab. That's what I wrote down. Petsinin was basically
Mm.
throwing so many low kicks that had two knockdowns in the second round, and I think it was in the second round. So basically, we had gotten knocked down again, and it was early in the second round when this happened. if had gotten knocked, Song Fan Kong had gotten knocked down again in that third, second round, the fight would have been over. But for some reason, he stood in there and he didn't get knocked down. He was checking everything, but he was still taking a lot of damage from those leg kicks. And you could see that in the third round, Petsonen couldn't throw any leg kicks anymore. I think he might have damaged his own legs from the amount of kicks that he was actually throwing. But my gosh, what a difficult fight to watch, because I was like, this guy, how is he even standing? Babu, give me your thoughts, brother, because for me it was difficult to watch the whole fight.
Brother, that second round was it was something to watch, because that man was landing, and it was with velocity, and
Yeah.
it was with power. And bro, like I said in the group yesterday, there is not an amount of money you could pay me to get 3 of those. Not even 3. 3 would be a stretch, because 1 already, and I'm not walking for the rest of this year, brother. Because I can't imagine how your leg feels once the adrenaline comes off.
Yeah.
And I think we saw that like in that third round for Petsonen. Like that third round, I think like the adrenaline might have worn off, because he knew that first and second he really did put a lot of power and volume into the kicks.
Everything.
And he knew
everything
that
he was throwing. Yeah.
all he had to do was see it out. And I'm sure like after that second knockdown early in the second, like you said, you think like, if I can land 1 more, then it's done. And you don't really want to you don't want to put all your energy into it, but you're also trying to like land it as fast as possible. And I think like once the end of the second, you're like, you know what, I have 2 rounds to me.
Yeah.
Like, just make sure that I don't get knocked out in the third.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and the fight is mine, basically. And I think you saw that, because he really took his foot off the gas in the third.
Oh,
In
massive.
that sense.
He even lost that third round because of that.
Yeah, and I like from on the other side of the coin, like Song Fan Kong, like wow, brother, take a bow, because I don't know how many fighters are taking that amount of kicks with that much power and not saying like, hey, I'm done. And even I think it was late in the second that he was checking a couple of them, and I was like, brother, I'm not checking nothing. Like,
No.
5 of them already landed clean without me checking it. There's no way you're gonna tell me now I'm checking. My leg it's cooked already.
It's done. It's gone.
Like, my mentality would have been like, you know what? Love to fight another day. And for him to stay in there, like, shows you a different type of metal to his mindset and his mentality. And that's a growing fight for him, and it's a stock riser, because even though you lost the fight, you put in a decent performance to show that, like, no matter what you throw at me, I'm going to keep going. You need to put me out cold for me to stop. And that's a good showing for him. I mean, not
Absolutely.
in the sense of the performance that he put out there, but I mean, just from you need some of those fights in your career just to show you like, I'm going into the dark waters. I'm going into the mindset of like toughness. Because
I completely agree.
In the day, like we look down the line. You might be fighting for a title. It might be a hard fight, and you can always step back into that mindset of, like that night I never gave up. Tonight I'm not going to give up.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think on the flip side of that coin, one could highlight, because I was asking in the group. Remember, I was like, I'm surprised the coaches didn't actually throw in the towel, because the fighter's never really gonna say no. Any fighter is never gonna just tap out or quit. They're not gonna, in situations like that, they're gonna push because they're fighters. But at some point, you're gonna have to be smart about it. I mean, look at Takeru when he fought Superball and he didn't give up. He had to go for a full surgery. Took 6-7 months off fighting because his leg was basically looked like it was minced meat. It was tenderized steak. So the same thing can be said here for Song Fan Kong, is that although he didn't get, and I thought it was quite impressive showing that he actually won the third round, because he was the one who was going forward. He was landing some elbows. He was pushing the pace with legs that he couldn't stand on. although that looks good and it shows that you're durable and you're tough and you're gonna have to put away to actually lose the fight, he also risks probably getting that ACL, or one of those knees, tendons at the back of your knees. One of those tendons could have been completely like damaged, and now he survived the fight, put on a showing, but now he's gonna have to wait maybe 4 or 5 months, maybe even 6 months to come back because his legs may be torn or something. And that's the risk you stand. And that's why I was like, your coaches, you could have maybe at least evaluated that before letting the guy continue, because my gosh, what's up?
Ross, when you were 21, did you not feel
Yeah.
invincible, bro?
Yes, I
He's
did, but it
21 years
wasn't
old.
smart. I
He's
get that.
21 years old. The coaches, if they do throw in the towel, you have to,
Yeah.
like, as a fighter, you're gonna be like, no, you don't know what could happen in the third. You see me every day in training.
Yeah.
What if I put somebody down late into a training session,
Yeah.
and like you don't want to show your fighter like, I'm losing confidence in you, especially like he's 21.
Yes.
I'm sure like at that in this stage of his fighting career, he's like,
Yeah.
what, um, um I'm there, like all the experience that he's gathering is just building for like when he's 26 and he's like
Yeah.
looking at it and he's like, yeah, you know what, I've actually had like bangers of fights. And he's like gonna be more strategic at that stage in life
He's
where
gonna
he
have to,
has
bro.
like a, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely,
He
because you
has to,
can't.
because yeah, you can't take that. You can't take that damage like
Yeah,
that, because it can be
he-
it can be career threatening. Even for Pet Sinin as well, because the thing is, he was throwing kicks to the point where you could see he was also like reckless abandonment. He's like, I don't care if my legs are fucked. I'm gonna kick this bra until he can't stand anymore. To the point where he's even sacrificing his own legs, because you could see even the way he was walking at the end of the fight, Petsinin, you could see his feet were flapping, because he's like, even my own legs are cooked kicking this bra so many times. But it made for a really great show. In the end of the day, it made for a really good fight to watch. So big ups to those two gentlemen. Okay, Baba, we keep it moving nice and swiftly. We won't spend too much time. This fight didn't really last that long, to be quite honest. Monk Korn took on Poirier. Poirier, obviously a fan favorite, that came into this fight, and he actually got stopped by Monk Korn with if I'm not mistaken, it was a right elbow, excuse me, and actually broke Poirier's nose with that elbow. It was beautiful. I think he landed two of them actually, and on the second knockdown, Poirier couldn't get back up. And yeah, he won himself a fantastic finish for the night. I'm not sure if he got a bonus, Moncon, but if he didn't, he probably should have, because that was a beautiful, beautiful knockout. Do you have any thoughts for this one, Babu, before we move on?
nah, it was just a short one. You couldn't.
Very short.
I think like a good showing from Mangoon, and I mean Poyer.
Mm,
It's unfortunate that he took the loss, but
mm.
it happens. It happens. It
These kind of
happens.
things go in, yeah. Because they both were quite wild, and the first album came in one of those scuffles where they were
Mm,
firstly cuffing, and then Moncon went, oh, elbowed him, and the next thing you know, Poirier was asking himself, what did I get hit by? But very, very
mm.
good display for that short first round that they went through. And also the next fight the fight that took place before that, we saw Bureng that took on Thailand Lek, and both these kids, I say kids because they look a bit old, but they're actually both still in high school. I think Bureng Nong actually, excuse me, is in university now, so he graduated from high school already. But Thailand Lek is only 17 years old, I think. So he was still having to go back to school after this fight. And he
Yeah.
won by unanimous decision. And what I thought it was one of those masterful displays. I think that even the commentators used the word, what a masterclass. And he's only 17 years old, and they used the word masterclass to describe Thailand Lek. That's actually, that speaks volumes for how he fought. And yeah, I think it was actually well said, because the kid was put on the full array of Muay Thai on display. He used elbows, knees, stepping knees, high kicks, question mark kicks. He looked like he had all the creativity in the world, and that's what you get from these young lads. Do you have any thoughts, Babu, of these two young lads?
I think in this fight I got to see like what I almost want to say a young experienced fighter is, because you got to see like the creativity, man. The
Yes.
like some of the kicks and and like the combinations that he was putting together. It was like if he was fighting a more experienced fighter, you could see how those things could be taken advantage of. But because
Yeah.
he's so young, he's like, let me try it. If I think it, I can do it. and
Yeah.
that's what I liked. And it was a very entertaining fight. And even like midway through the fight, I had to
Mm.
remind myself, like, oh, yo, both these guys are actually freak young.
Yeah, teenagers, dude. That's the thing, and
Mm.
the future looks very bright for both of them. Very, very, very bright. I'm looking forward to seeing One Championship putting fights together for Thailand Lek and Pureng Nong. But okay, Babu, here are the CPS reports. We're going to keep it moving to the next fight. And another fight that didn't really last that long. Early in the second round, Earn got the knockout with a beautiful right left combination. He landed two of it actually, putting Pit Nong Kao out. And you like this one. And I want to touch base on Earn a little bit because I thought he was super creative coming into the fight. He had to fight some adversity in the first round because Pit Nong Kao came on strong. He was super aggressive to the point where I even thought that he was risking a lot of himself because Hearn was landing that chick right to get from the southpaw stance quite often. That's his go-to move, and Pek Nong Kao didn't look like he was actually paying attention to it. And in the second round, Hearn threw that combination, check right into a left straight, and it landed. He landed it and moved twice, putting Pek Nong Kao out on his feet. You still said you thought the guy was dead, and Hearn turned his life around, dude. The man was in prison prior to this, and then he came into this organization, and look at him now putting a red phone there. That's I was like, nah, look at this dude. He's a dog, dude. He turned his whole life around, and I was quite impressed with his performance. He is in atom weight, so that's a very very small weight. He's a weight below the Rotang and Takero them. So hopefully that if he becomes champion in this division, because I do think he has the credentials to do it. We might see a champion versus champion match in the future. You never know. But give me your thoughts, Pablo, on this one because you seem to have enjoyed it.
I just thought from time of the workout, Hearn coming out with the phone and the hat, and I was like, oh, he's a showman, he's a showman, he's a showman. And then in that first round, I was like, oh, is this man? Is he one of those? Like he's just
Yeah.
like we remember him for his walkout, but then
Hmm.
he did pretty well towards the end of the first. Um, he I would say like um he looked calculated, but you
Mm.
could see nerves in him. I think that first couple of minutes in there, like he just looked a bit gun shy, to be
Yes.
quite frank.
Yeah.
And then like in that, I think at the end, towards the end of the first, he landed the left, or was
Mm.
it? It was a left check or a right check that he
Yeah.
landed, and I was like, oh, that looked powerful. And then in
It
the
was
second,
a it was a left. Yeah, you're right. It was a left.
yeah, it was a left, and I was like, "Yo, that looked powerful." And then
Mm.
in the second round, I think it was the left, the left check again, and
Mm.
that one, I was like, "Oh, this fight is done." And then before I could even utter the words, the right came and the right put him out, and I was like, I was looking at I was thinking to myself, what is the ref doing? Because the ref was crouched down, like
Mm.
counting. I was like, bro, this man is not
No.
registering that count, bro. This man
Yeah.
can definitely not be focusing on the count right now. Because I thought
Exactly.
he folded after that left to the body. I was like, oh,
Mm.
that must be like one of that shut down your body type type shots. And then
Yeah.
the right was just like, buddy, that's just for safe measure. Phone home.
Phone home. Yeah.
Phone
What?
home.
That was the best for me. I was like, nah, Hun, you're becoming a fan favorite for my eyes, dude. 100%. He stole the crowd of that. And also just the story, man, to have turned his life around like that. I thought, this guy is becoming fan favorite for sure. I definitely think he's going to be future champ. But let us know in the comments if you guys think he's going to be future champ as well. 'Cause I think Hearn definitely put in a performance and probably should have gotten a bonus. I'm not sure if he did, but he should have gotten a bonus for that one. Okay, Barbara, we move on to the headliner of the undercard. We saw the return of Pan Payak versus Silvio Vitez in a flyweight Muay Thai battle, and this fight went to unanimous decision, which I thought probably wasn't unanimous in my eyes. I thought Silvio actually held his own. I thought that we would have got blown away unanimously, like the scorecard showed, but the fight didn't look like that for me. Babu, give me your thoughts on it before I give why I said the fight wasn't unanimous.
I think we're in agreement here. Um, I thought Pit Payak started off well. I think
Hmm.
that first you could see. I think like coming into this fight, I was saying ring rust can be a thing, and I think like that first and second, the ring rust didn't show too much. I think in
Mm,
the third, you definitely saw ring rust, and I
yeah.
think like even towards the end of the second, you saw a
Yes.
bit of ring rust. Like, oh, this man's a bit gassed, and if
Mm,
this had to be a 5 round fighter, like I think Sylvie gets it done
yeah.
because he just grew as the fight continued. Um, I would say Pit Bayak, that first and second, I would give it to him because he was landing, he was controlling. I think some of the knees that he threw in the
Mm.
clinch was,
Oh.
oh, it was really. I couldn't understand the hip dexterity, to be quite frank with you. I think there
Yeah.
was one in the second that he
Yeah.
landed perfectly with the top of his knee, like in your rib cage. And I
Yeah.
was like, brother, I don't care what you are doing, but that if a knee is landing to your rib cage,
You're done.
it's hell of you feel it. And he
Yeah.
was landing knees very nicely in the clinches. And I was looking at Sylvie and he didn't look like he was folding. He didn't look like he was taking a step back. He kept pressing forward. He kept trying to land as much as possible. And in that third, I think it paid off. Sylvie looked like he was just growing. I think
Mm,
honestly think if this fight was longer, Sylvie would have found a way to put Petpayak down or
mm,
put him like on the back foot because
yeah.
he was just growing and he kept growing. And I can see why they keep him around in the one championship because he does have entertaining fights and even though he takes
Mm.
losses, he looks great.
Yeah, he's scary, dude, and I think he's very relentless, is what the word is, because he doesn't get pushed back enough. I agree with that first round. I thought the clinch and the low kicks from Panpayak was money for him. It was, and it packed a lot of power in that first round. And then you could also see that Sylvia was struggling to sort of enter that void into the pocket and sort of let his hands go. He was trying, but every time he entered that gap, Panpayak just clinched him up and threw those knees that he was speaking of. I think in the second round, this is where I was turning the fight card a little bit because even though Panpayak won the second round, majority. I do think that you could have made an argument for Silvio winning it as well because Panpiak landed damaging shots, but off the back foot, and you could see him sort of fading slowly but surely. He was fading. Silvio didn't get discouraged. He kept on going forward. He took a shot, but it didn't make him. He wasn't rocked in any way, shape, or form. He just kept on moving forward, and he was throwing his combinations, throwing his leg kicks, and you could see that it was actually weighing on Panpayak because like you mentioned, he was getting tired. He was getting gassed in that second round, and I think the last 50 seconds of that second round, Silvio really, really started dominating for me but just not enough. And that's probably why Panpiak won that second round. Even though I gave the ten points to Silvio for the second round because he just looked the stronger fighter. In the third round, I think he definitely won that third round for me. He was dominating the clinches. He had Panpayak going backwards all the time. Panpayak looked really exhausted, even though he threw a very strong body kick in that third round, but he didn't do enough to actually win it. And that's why I'm saying it should have been split decision instead of unanimous. Because I think Silvio did a lot more. He should have actually gotten the third round, and potentially they should have been a toss up for that second round for me. But he definitely lost the third round. But an overall massive comeback for Panpayak, and also a good showing for Silvio. That's now going to be, I think, 4 fights in the that he lost, 5 fights that he lost now in a row for Silvio Vites. But again, narrow losses and also unfortunate losses
Mm.
against really top of the food chain kind of fighters. And I think the one championship is definitely going to keep him around for longer because it's in the flyweight, and I think he's ranked in this division as well. So yeah, I can see both these guys hanging around quite some time in this division for sure. I think Panpayak is on his way up again, coming back. So good main
His
event for the
record
for
is
the undercard.
insane, bro.
Yeah, he's just a master, dude. I just think he got unfortunate with that injury, which kind of held him back a bit. But I do think now that he's back, injury free, we're gonna see him go on a run again in that flyweight, and it's a massive division, dude. Like I say, you've got Tanzin there, you've got Rod Tang, you've got Jacob Smith. There's a massive list of guys that are just killers in this division. So I look forward to seeing what One Championship puts together for the flyweights in the Muay Thai discipline. But okay, Babu, let's keep moving to our last one. And we saw, let me just put this on the screen. We've got Wadapon that faced Anta Kasim in a catchweight Muay Thai bout, and Wadapun came up short, unfortunately, in a split decision loss against Anta Kasim. And entertaining fight from minute one, hella entertaining fight. Kasim, like I said in the preview, he's tall, he's long, he's uncomfortable to fight against. He's very different to the Muay Thai guys because he's not very traditional in the way that he strikes. But yeah, he came out winner in a split decision. Pablo, give me your thoughts on this one, bro.
This was quite an entertaining fight. I even like watching going into the third. I was like, it looks a bit evenly evenly matched because I felt like
Mm,
both fighters had moments in each round. I thought both fighters game planned for the fight very
mm,
well,
mm,
and um, I think like if I had to look at this fight and look at the main event fight, like
mm,
the main event fight, you saw one fighter prepare for a certain game plan and stuck to it,
yeah.
and another fighter that didn't game plan properly. And here in this fight, you could see like both fighters were like, "Oh, I have plan A, I have plan B as well."
Mm,
I think
mm,
whereupon he tried to put a bit of pressure coming
yes.
out of in round one, and
Yeah.
Kasim was like, "Okay, cool, I'll match you,"
Yeah.
and he even like I think that in the coming out in the second, Kasim was like, "Oh, do you like? Are you not going to put that same pressure?" And he started going a bit more forward, but then Warapon
Mm,
like responded well in the way he was countering and throwing off
mm,
Kasim with certain strikes
mm,
because you could see both fighters were throwing each
yeah.
other's rhythm off, and I think like
Yes.
I didn't think a finish would have happened in this fight because both fighters were so dialed in on how they were
Mm,
what they were landing. They were very calculated on what they
yeah.
landed and the way they were striking. And this was actually like a beautiful fight to watch. Like especially like
Mm,
if you, I'm new to the Muay Thai world, and to
mm,
see like two fighters that come with this experience and pick these shots and be as
yes.
calculated and try to go in the way they were striking, it was nice to watch.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. I also didn't see a finish coming because the way you described it now, with in terms of both fighters recognizing each other's game plans and in-fight adjustments, is what we saw for the course of that 9 minutes. It was beautiful to witness. I do think that Wadapon was having more damaging shots, especially in the second round. He came out strong in that second round because I think he lost the first round. Came out very strong in that second, and he threw heavy low kicks, body shots, heavy body kicks as well. But then in the third round, Warapun had no way of entering. He just couldn't come. He just couldn't enter into the pocket. Every time he tried, Antar just kept just popping the jab out, popping the right hook, just keeping the distance into his favor, and ultimately won in that third round, which then made that he won the split decision. Both very experienced fighters. I would have loved to have seen them fight a little higher up the card because it was an entertaining fight back and forth. I always love watching
Definitely.
Kasim. I always love watching Kasim fight. He's one of my favorite guys to watch, even though he takes losses, but he makes fights very exciting because it's a different style, man. He comes into Muay Thai with a different approach, and a lot of the Muay Thai fighters I've
Mm.
noticed they struggle with it because he's also very tall. But just very exciting for both of these gentlemen to watch. Looking forward to seeing them again in the future. I would love to see Antar Kasim sort of hone in on some kind of weight division and not necessarily bounce up and down between weights. Stick to one and have a crack at it because I do think it is a good puzzle for some of these Thai fighters. But anyway, Babu, that is our time. It was a fantastic card. Looking forward to the next one, obviously. But for everyone else that is watching and you made it this far, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We love all the engagement and also just seeing you guys help us get out to our landmarks in terms of the numbers on the channel. But that is myself and Babu. You will catch us when we do our recap of the UFC coming up later in this week. There's still another fight card taking place this weekend, so keep a lookout for that one. And then, yeah, on that note, just stay safe, stay blessed, enjoy the fights this weekend, and you will catch us on the next one. Cheers.